Hi, my name is Rachel and welcome back to Auxhart Gardening. I am gardening here in South Carolina, Zone 7B. If you're new, welcome to my garden. Today is our week 20 garden tour and we only have a few more weeks until we get into the fall garden. Can you believe it? So, without further ado, let's start taking a look at the garden. So in this first bed here, I have my failed summer carrot experiment, and it failed partly because I didn't quite plant enough carrots, and partly because some deer came in and chomped literally all of my carrots. There's, I think, 6 carrots left out of this whole bed. So what I did was I came in and planted more bush beans. There should be more coming up soon, and hopefully I can still get something productive out of this bed for second summer. And right next to it is this monster tomato plant. It's maybe hard to tell, but right there is where it started bending over, and after that point I kind of gave up on pruning it just to see what would happen. And so far it is going wild. I don't have any tomatoes set on some of these outer branches, but I think once that happens, it will definitely start sagging down. So far there's no real disease issues with the unpruned section either, but as you can see, I've pruned the stem coming up the pole pretty heavily, and that's because every day I come out and more leaves are starting to look like this. You see these yellow spots with the brown center? That is a bacterial infection that generally pops up onto the leaves from the rain hitting the soil. And at this point, I think that it is just all over the plants. And you can see it's like working its way up through the leaves. So the topmost leaves are still quite healthy, but I have a feeling that that won't last very long. I have been aggressively pruning this back, and did I say bacterial? I really meant fungal. Yeah, so this is a fungus that comes up from the soil, and generally if you don't have enough air circulation around your tomato plants, that will start to kill them pretty quickly, especially in a hot, humid area like South Carolina, which is why you can see all of my tomato plants stem aggressively pruned up. But we've still got so many tomatoes and even more setting fruit. So I am very pleased with the tomatoes this season. Shall we pick some? So it feels like I'm getting about this many tomatoes like every 2 or 3 days now, which is crazy. I've been making tomato sauces and salsa like you would never believe, and still the tomatoes keep on coming. So that one ginormous tomato that I have, it is finally starting to blush. I am so excited for this thing. It is truly massive, probably going to be the biggest tomato that I grow all year. It is a Hungarian heart, and it appears that it is a fused or fasciated tomato. Alright, so let's take a quick look at the peppers. There's still not too much to see in terms of the sweet peppers. My Zulus are starting to put on their second flush here, and I am actually finally starting to get fruit setting on some of my other sweet pepper plants. So that back there is a baby Lesa. You can kind of see that it's going to be pointy at the bottom and big and round at the top, and it's supposed to turn red and look like a heart. Of course, my Buena Mulata peppers are looking great. I've got one in the very back there that is starting to turn. These tend to stay purple for quite a while, and you can actually eat them at any stage of ripeness, I guess as you can any pepper. But these are a spicy pepper that gets spicier the longer that you let them go and turn from purple to this brownish color to red eventually. Back there you can see my first Edgevarski, and there's another one coming in over here. Plus, I think if we look back here, we'll see an Anaheim. So this is also a hot pepper. This was supposed to be the only hot pepper in this bed. However, one of my sweet pepper plants got damaged while transplanting, so we grabbed an extra hot pepper to fill its spot. The kale is finally looking how I imagined it would in the middle of summer. It's not growing very fast. It's a little pest-ridden, not looking its absolute healthiest. So coming up soon, I'll be planting more kale anyway, and these plants can just be cut out. Although they still have not gone to seed, which is kind of incredible and makes me want them to go to seed even more so that I can save the seeds and propagate a genetic line that is not easy to bolt. It's so hard to properly show the scale of these tomato plants on video, but they are so tall. The tops of those poles there are sticking about 8 feet out of the ground, and some of them are going a couple feet above that. So I've got like at least 10-foot plants up here. Alright, so we're coming up on the trellis, which you can see is bare except for the Malabar spinach now. And so it was just a few days ago, I planted some bush beans here. And if you remember, this was previously a container, and what I did was I poured out all of the potting soil onto the ground, added a layer of compost, and planted more beans there. And I did that because I felt like the beans that grew up on the trellis were really quite stunted by the fact that they were in a container. So I'm going to try giving them a little more root space in the ground for a second summer and see what happens. Let's look at how much rain we got. That's about half an inch, maybe. It's pretty good considering what usually happens here. So we live right by a lake, and you'll see the rain coming and you'll think, oh yes, we're gonna get rain, and then it splits right around the lake and we don't get rain. So I'm always happy for rain. Oh no. Well, that is a squash bug. Also the other day I squished a ton of squash bugs, and I hadn't seen them on these plants back here before. They were only on the ones in the yard, and now I'm starting to see them back here, and that is really disheartening. But I'm gonna go get a glove and squish every single one that I see. There's probably not that many back here, but I'm gonna stay on top of this so that I do get some spaghetti squash. Oh no, I dropped him. There he is. It's actually deceivingly difficult to do this with only one hand holding a camera. I think I actually see one sitting on my sage plant. This is a more adult squash bug. Got him. Oh, that's so gross. Okay. Let's look for more. Generally, you'll want to look underneath the leaves. And also be on the lookout for sacks of little red eggs all together, either underneath the leaves or on the stems. That's one. They just kind of pop, which is just, ugh. But I love my plants. I love my plants. I love my plants. There's another one. Oh God. They're everywhere. I'm gonna set you guys down. Another good tip when you're looking for squash bugs is they tend to hide at the base of the stem that's going along the ground. So if you're not really seeing them on your leaves, but you're seeing damaged leaves like yellowing or wilting leaves, check on the stem along the ground, and that might be where you find them. Thankfully, I don't see any more. I killed about 4 on the plant today. Oh wait, there's one. So when you squish them, this is gonna sound really gross, but they almost smell like minty. It's bad. It's a bad minty. It's like stink bug mixed with mint is what they smell like when you pop them. Oh. I hope you go your whole gardening experience without smelling that smell, but chances are you will encounter squash bugs at some point. So be warned. What I did the other day, if you watch my video, instead of squishing most of them, I actually picked them up and threw them into a bucket of water with soap in it, and they pretty much drowned very easily. So that is another option if you're not into the squishing, but if you only have a few and you don't want to take the time to get a bucket of water, squishing them is just fine. I think we're good for today. Alrighty, we are on to the backyard garden. Alright, so right in front of me I have the herbs per usual. My crispy spearmint is actually making a little bit of a recovery. I'm not really caring for it at all because I do have a much better mint plant back by the beds in the back. Oregano looking nice. Thyme. And the parsley is actually looking really good for the heat of the summer. Parsley will actually survive really nicely into the winter, so I'm looking forward to that. My basil over here is looking awesome. These two plants actually haven't tried to flower as aggressively as some, so I think what I might do is let them flower and collect the seeds. Like I was saying before, you want to try and propagate genetics of slow bolt plants so that if you're saving seeds, you get like the very best genetics. So right up here, there's 3 tomatoes now. The 2 sick ones and the massive one. Not setting very much fruit over here yet, but I think these plants are a few weeks behind the ones that were out in the bigger bed, and plus they're all in containers, so of course they're not going to get as big or be as productive. I've had to start cutting back my tomatillos because, as you can see, they're taking over. That's tomatillo branch over there, tomatillo stretching out towards my pepper. Yeah, and still getting barely any fruit off of these massive plants. It's pretty disappointing, and I think I've said in the past I'm probably not going to bother with tomatillos again because, you know, they're not really that tasty, at least the ones that I've grown. So take a look at these peppers over here. So these are the peppers that prove to me that I should have waited longer to put my peppers in the ground. These peppers stayed in the greenhouse for an extra like almost a month. And like you can see, even though this one's being eaten all to pieces, it is still trying to explode in growth. And the one next to it didn't get eaten as hard, so it's huge and lush and green. And oh my god, I just almost stepped into that spider web. Oof. Y'all see that? Spiders used to scare me a lot, but they are friends of the garden. They eat bugs, and generally they stay put. I trust them not to come crawling after me because they have their little webs that they want to be on. House spiders are a little different story. I don't necessarily trust them not to come get me, but garden spiders are our friends, and I am so sorry, friend. I have to kind of destroy your web so that I can get through. Sorry. There we go. Alright, so looking at the hot peppers, I have a jigsaw that is actually almost ripe. You can see it right there. Apparently they don't get very big. These are teeny tiny little peppers, which again adds to it being mostly an ornamental plant rather than a productive food plant. You can't deny it is gorgeous, and I actually really wish that I had it up on a table so that I could see it a little bit better, but it's still nice from the top. I've got loaded sugar rush peach plants back here. These haven't turned yet, but I think they're getting close. This one back here also loaded down with peppers. My Tabasco plant has finally started setting peppers. Tabascos are really cool because they actually just grow straight up like that their whole lives, because they don't get very big. So if you get a full plant of peppers, it's really pretty because it's varying shades of that yellow and then the orange and then the red of the ripe ones. Whoops. Okay. I've got 2 jalapenos coming in. One here. That one's actually almost ready. And one over here. Not the most productive plants, but they're getting there. They're setting flowers. I've also got my serrano back here. You can see that's basically a jalapeno, but like cylindrical, and it's going to be smaller when I pick it. My cayennes, I've been harvesting a few. These 2 actually look perfectly ready. Oh no, this one's got a little eaten, but that'll be fine. What I'm doing with my cayennes is I'm going to collect them and, for the most part, freeze them so that eventually at the end of the season I can dry them all out and make cayenne pepper flakes and powder. And if I don't have enough Tabascos, then I'll use cayennes to up the spiciness of some of the hot sauces that I'm planning on making. Check out this pumpkin flower. It is basically a bee hotel. They like to crowd in there and sleep. The center of this flower is yellow, and oh, there's Mr. Bee. They like to sleep in these flowers, and they open up in the mornings, and it's really, really cute. But this is the plant that I picked so many squash bugs off the other day, and come out the very next day to find all these little black bugs all over it. My first guess is that these are flea beetles, but I'm not sure. Can anybody tell me? The damage, like you can see the leaves are starting to look a little white, and it's not like a powdery mildew kind of white in my opinion, although maybe it is. But I don't know, it started as soon as I saw these little black bugs. They jump around like fleas, so flea beetle makes the most sense to me. And I still do not have a pollinated fruit on this plant. I am starting to question whether I will get one at all. I have pretty much all male flowers. So please hope for me, guys, that I will get a pumpkin. Although the cool thing about this is you can see the plant actually started back there, and all of this section was really decimated by the squash bugs. But because it's a vine, it's putting in roots along the ground as it goes. So this section is still going to be all right, even with this section where it started off dying back. So that's really helpful. That's really cool. Oh no, that's another squash bug. Here we go. Oh, got him. Ew. The things we do for our plants, guys. Let's take a step back here. So this area is really bare because I just ripped out all the dead or half dead cucumber plants that were back here. The squash bugs really mainly got to them, and for the longest time I didn't squish the squash bugs. I was trying to use diatomaceous earth, and they did not die. So I have planted more cucumbers back here. Hopefully they'll come up and we'll have enough time here in second summer to get some actual cucumbers. Something else I wanted to show you guys. So this is the top of a dill plant that has gone to seed, and you can see the flowers have made way for the seeds here. These are not quite ready to be saved. They're still closed up, and you can see some of them are a little green still. But as soon as they all turn brown and start drying up, you can cut this head off and start pulling the seeds off and save your seeds for your next generation of dill, which I've already pulled a few heads off and done that, and I'll likely be replanting dill for second summer so that I can have dill to go with the aforementioned cucumbers and make some pickles. Similarly, I wanted to show you guys this lettuce that is flowering. It's making these cute little yellow flowers, and when those are pollinated, it'll basically make little puffs of seeds, kind of like dandelions, and at that point you can harvest the seeds. So I might be doing some of that, if only to get practice in saving lettuce seeds, because I do have quite a few left in the pack, and probably replanting those for fall as well, so that I can actually have some fall greens. One more piece of advice about the squash bugs. I touched my glove with this other hand, and now my fingers are all sticky, and my glove is sticky from squishing them. So just be aware that whatever gloves you use to squish your squash bugs, they're gonna get sticky and gross. So yeah, you were warned. Alrighty, well that is all I have to show you guys on this very foggy, wet morning. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me in my garden on this garden tour week 20. I hope to see you guys again soon. I'll probably be planting some of the fall stuff in one of my upcoming videos, so stay tuned for that. Happy gardening, guys.